They thought humans were legends. Then their fleet arrived. The galaxy had a secret, one buried so deep even the stars forgot. For 500 years, they told us humanity was extinct, a cautionary tale of a species too violent to survive. But the truth? We weren't gone. We were waiting. And when the Corvian Empire stumbled upon that derelict warship drifting at the edge of their space, they made one fatal mistake. They woke us up. Now, the galaxy will learn why they should have let sleeping giants lie. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The bridge of the Corvian flagship Eclipse of Dawn hummed with quiet tension as the massive derelict vessel loomed on the main view screen. Its hull was pitted with age, scarred by centuries of cosmic radiation, yet something about it felt alive. Captain Vera Solis leaned forward in her command chair, her sharp amber eyes tracing the strange markings along its side, symbols no living scholar could fully decipher. "Magnify Sector 7, she ordered, her voice calm but edged with something deeper. Curiosity? Unease? The screen zoomed in, revealing a series of etched letters, nearly worn away but still legible. TSV Iron Vanguard. Jax Torin, her first officer, let out a low whistle. That's not just any wreck. That's human. A murmur rippled through the bridge crew. Humans were myths, bedtime stories told to scare young cadets. Don't stray too far, or the humans will snatch you up. But here one was, drifting silently in the dead zone between star systems. Vera tapped her comm. "Science team, I want a full scan. Focus on energy signatures." The response crackled back, hesitant. "Captain, we're reading minimal power, but there's something else. A signal. It's faint, but it's repeating." Jax crossed his arms, his usual smirk absent. "A distress call? Not unless humans counted backward," Vera muttered, watching as the translation software parsed the signal. 3, 2, 1, then silence. Then it repeated. Lieutenant Mara Voss, the ship's tactical officer, frowned. "That's not a distress call. That's a countdown." The bridge went still. Vera's fingers tightened around the armrests of her chair. Red alert. Shields up. Too late. The derelict engines flared to life with a roar that shook the Eclipse of Dawn, its thrusters burning a deep, unnatural crimson. The ship moved, not like a lifeless hulk, but with precision, like a predator waking from slumber. Jax swore. Since when do dead ships do that? Mara's hands flew over her console. Weapons systems online. Unknown configuration. "Captain, it's targeting us." Vera didn't hesitate. Evasive maneuvers. All batteries. Return fire if... A voice cut through the chaos. "Eclipse of Dawn. This is Commander Elias Kane of the Terran Starship Vanguard." The transmission was crisp, clear, and unmistakably human. Jax's jaw dropped. "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." Vera steadied herself. "Commander Kane, you're trespassing in Corvian space. Power down your weapons immediately." A dry chuckle echoed back. "Funny. Last I checked, this sector belonged to Earth." Mara's voice was a whisper. "Earth's been dead for 500 years. Reports of our extinction," Kane said, "were greatly exaggerated." The view screen flickered, and then, in the void behind the derelict, 100 new signatures blinked into existence. Ships. Warships. Human warships. Jax let out a strangled laugh. Well, this just became the worst first contact in history. Vera's mind raced. Every protocol, every contingency, none covered this. And then Kane spoke again, his tone chillingly calm. "You've got one chance to walk away, Captain. I suggest you take it." The Iron Vanguard's weapons locked on. Silence gripped the bridge. Somewhere in the dark, the countdown reached 0. Chapter 2. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the quiet town of Eldermere, its rays painting the cobblestone streets in warm hues. Finn adjusted the strap of his satchel, the weight of his father's journal pressing against his side. He couldn't shake the feeling that today would be different, that the answers he'd been searching for were closer than ever. "Oi, Finn." Are you planning to stare at the ground all day, or are we actually going to do this? Kale's voice cut through his thoughts, sharp as ever. The rogue leaned against a lamppost, twirling a dagger between his fingers with practiced ease. Finstovlet. I'm thinking, unlike some people who just charge in and hope for the best. Kale grinned, flipping the dagger into the air and catching it without looking. Worked so far, hasn't it? Barely, muttered Lyra, her arms crossed as she emerged from the shadows of the alley. Her emerald eyes flicked between them, unimpressed. Last time you charged in, we ended up chased by a pack of rabid sewer rats. Kale waved a hand dismissively. Details. Besides, Finn's the one who dropped the torch. Finn's face flushed. It slipped, and those rats were the size of dogs. Lyra rolled her eyes. Focus. We're here for a reason, remember? The journal mentioned a hidden vault beneath the old apothecary. If we're right, it could hold the next piece of the map. Kale's smirk faded, replaced by a rare seriousness. Assuming the apothecary doesn't turn us into potion ingredients first. Old Man Hargrove's got a temper. Finn sighed, rubbing his temples. We'll just have to be careful. And quiet. Quiet. Kale snorted. That's your plan? Might as well ask a thunderstorm to whisper. Lyra shot him a glare. Or we could leave you here. Again. Kale held up his hands in surrender. Fine. I'll be as silent as a shadow. Happy? Never. Lyra deadpanned, but the corner of her mouth twitched. The trio moved through the winding streets, the air thick with the scent of baking bread and damp stone. The apothecary loomed ahead, its wooden sign creaking ominously in the breeze. Finn's heart pounded as he pushed the door open, the bell above jingling like a warning. Inside, shelves groaned under the weight of jars filled with strange, swirling liquids. The air smelled of herbs and something metallic, something alive. Ah, customers, a voice rasped from the darkness. Old Man Hargrove emerged, his gnarled fingers clutching his staff. Or should I say, trespassers? Finn swallowed hard. We just need information. About the vault. The old man's eyes gleamed, sharp as broken glass. Vault? What vault? Kale leaned in, flashing his most charming smile. Come on, Hargrove. We all know Eldermere's got secrets. Help us out, and maybe we'll forget about that accidental fire in your back room last year. Hargrove's face twisted. You little... Lyra stepped between them, her voice calm but firm. We're not here to cause trouble, but we will find what we're looking for. With or without your help. The apothecary studied them for a long moment, then let out a wheezing laugh. Bold words for a bunch of fools. Fine. The vault's beneath the cellar. But don't say I didn't warn you. Finn's pulse quickened. Warn us about what? Hargrove's smile was all teeth. The Guardians, they don't take kindly to thieves. Kale groaned. Why is it always Guardians? Lyra ignored him, already heading for the cellar door. Let's move, and this time, try not to drop anything. Finn exhaled, gripping the journal tighter. The answers were close. He could feel it, but so were the dangers. And as the cellar door creaked open, revealing a yawning darkness below, he wondered if they were ready for what awaited them. Chapter 3. The cellar stairs groaned under their weight, each step sending a shudder through the old wood. Finn's fingers brushed the damp stone wall, the air thick with the scent of mildew and something darker, something ancient. Remind me again why we didn't just bribe Hargrove. Kale muttered, his voice echoing in the narrow passage. I take a lighter wallet over whatever's waiting down here. Lyra shot him a look over her shoulder, the faint glow of her enchanted pendant casting eerie shadows across her face. Because bribes leave trails, and we don't need more people knowing what we're after. Finn tightened his grip on the journal. Besides, Hargrove would have taken our money and sold us out anyway. The man's got the loyalty of a starving cat. Kale snorted. Fair point. Still, if we die down here, I'm haunting both of you. You're already a nightmare, Lyra said dryly, but Finn caught the flicker of amusement in her eyes. The stairs ended abruptly, opening into a cavernous chamber. The walls were lined with strange carvings, twisting runes that seemed to shift under the dim light. At the center stood a massive stone door, its surface etched with a symbol Finn recognized instantly from his father's notes. "This is it," he breathed, stepping forward. Lyra held out an arm, stopping him. "Wait." She pointed to the ground, where faint grooves formed a pattern in the dust. "Pressure plates. One wrong step, and we're skewered." Kale whistled low. "Charming. Any bright ideas? Oh, fearless leader." Finn chewed his lip, scanning the journal. "There's a sequence. Step only where the runes align." He traced a finger over the page. "Left foot on the serpent, right on the crescent moon." Lyra nodded. "I'll go first. Lightest on my feet." Kale smirked. "And the most expendable?" She didn't dignify that with a response, already moving with the precision of a shadow. Finn followed, heart hammering as he placed each foot with painstaking care. Behind him, Kale muttered a steady stream of curses under his breath. Halfway across, the ground trembled. A deep, grinding noise filled the chamber as the carvings on the walls began to glow. "Oh, that's not good," Kale said, voice cracking. Finn's stomach dropped. "We triggered something." Lyra spun, eyes wide. "Run!" They lunged for the door as the floor behind them split apart, revealing jagged spikes. Finn's fingers scraped against the stone as he slammed into the door, fumbling for the mechanism. "Open it," Kale yelled, glancing back at the approaching death trap. Finn's hands shook as he pressed the journal's instructions into action, twisting the serpent's head, then the moon. The door groaned, then slid open just enough for them to squeeze through. They tumbled inside as the spikes snapped shut behind them, the sound ringing like a death knell. For a moment, there was only silence and the ragged sound of their breathing. Kale flopped onto his back. "I hate this. I hate all of this." Lyra wiped the sweat from her brow. "You're welcome to wait outside next time." Finn ignored them, his gaze locked on what lay ahead. The vault stretched before them, its walls lined with relics of forgotten power. But it was the pedestal at the center that stole his breath. A single, glowing shard of crystal rested atop it, humming with energy. "That's it," he whispered. "The first key." Kale sat up, squinting. "It's a rock. A pretty rock, sure, but..." Lyra smacked his arm. "It's a focus stone. Legends say they can unlock the barriers between worlds." Finn reached out, then hesitated. "It can't be this easy." As if on cue, the ground shuddered again. A low growl echoed through the vault, and the shadows at the far end of the room moved. Kale scrambled to his feet. "You just had to say it, didn't you?" Two glowing eyes emerged from the darkness, followed by a hulking form, a creature of matted fur and razor-sharp claws. The Guardian. Lyra drew her blades. "Plan." Finn swallowed. "Grab the stone. Don't die." Kale groaned. "Worst plan ever." The beast lunged. Chapter 4. The negotiation chamber aboard the neutral station Elysium was designed to inspire calm. Soft lighting, curved walls, and a circular table meant to symbolize equality. None of that mattered when Commander Elias Kane strode in, flanked by Lieutenant Mara Voss and two stone-faced Marines in black combat armor. Across from them, Captain Vera Solis stood with Jax Torin and Admiral Ranvero, their expressions carefully neutral. The air hummed with tension thick enough to choke on. Elias dropped a data pad onto the table with a sharp clack. "Let's skip the pleasantries. You've got 10 minutes to explain why we shouldn't consider your presence here an act of war." Jax leaned back, arms crossed. "Funny, we were about to ask you the same thing." Mara's cybernetic fingers tapped a slow rhythm against her thigh. "You invaded our space, boarded our ships, and now you're playing victim? Bold strategy." Admiral Vero's nostrils flared. "Your space? The Terran Accord has been extinct for centuries. By galactic law, Elias cut in, his voice dangerously quiet. "The same law that said Earth was a dead zone, the same law that erased us." Vera's gaze flicked to the datapad. "What is that?" Elias smirked. "Proof." He activated the display, and a holographic star map flared to life above the table. An old border chart, the kind used before the collapse. Earth glowed red at the center, surrounded by a web of territories marked in Terran blue. Jax whistled. "Nice museum piece. What's your point?" Mara's voice was ice. "The point is, Every system in this sector was ours before the Corvian Empire stole it. Vero slammed a fist on the table. Preposterous. Those records were declassified and edited. Elias interrupted. Just like the reports of our extinction. He swiped his hand through the hologram, pulling up a new file. A security feed from 500 years ago. It showed a fleet of Corvian ships bombarding Earth's defense platforms. Vera's stomach twisted. That's impossible. The archives say Earth was lost to a plague. Elias's smile didn't reach his eyes. Funny how plagues don't leave blast craters. Silence. Jax broke it with a dry chuckle. Well, this is awkward. Vero's face darkened. Even if this fantasy were true, it changes nothing. You can't just march in and reclaim. We're not asking, Mara said. Elias leaned forward, his voice dropping to a growl. Here's how this goes. You withdraw from the Sol system. Every ship, every outpost gone. Or we remove them ourselves. Vero met his stare. You're outnumbered 100 to 1. Are we? Elias tilted his head. A notification pinged on Vera's wrist comm. She glanced at it and froze. Jax frowned. What? She swallowed. Long-range sensors just picked up a second Terran fleet. Heading this way. Mara's grin was razor-sharp. Told you we weren't asking. Vero's chair screeched as he stood. This is an act of war. Elias rose slowly, his gaze locked on Vera. No, Admiral. This is a correction. He turned for the door, then paused. Oh, and Captain Solis? Tell your high command something for me. The lights flickered as the station's power grid stuttered, just for a second. When they steadied, Elias's eyes gleamed in the half-dark. We remember everything. The door hissed shut behind him, leaving the Corvians in silence. Jax exhaled. So, anyone else suddenly missed the good old days when humans were just scary stories? Vera didn't answer. Her fingers traced the edge of the datapad, where a single line of text glowed faintly. Message incoming. Origin, Earth. Chapter 5. The beast's roar shook the vault, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Finn barely had time to dive aside, as its massive claws gouged deep furrows in the stone where he'd stood seconds before. Okay, new plan. Kale yelped, backpedaling. We run. Very fast. In the opposite direction. Lyra was already moving, her twin blades flashing as she darted in, slashing at the creature's flank. The steel bit deep, but the Guardian barely flinched. It swung a backhanded blow that sent her skidding across the floor. Lyra, Finn's heart lurched as she rolled to her feet, wincing but still gripping her weapons. I'm fine, she spat. Worry about the giant murder beast. The Guardian turned its glowing eyes toward Finn, saliva dripping from jagged teeth. Finn's fingers closed around the focus stone in his pocket. Its warmth pulsed against his palm like a second heartbeat. Kale flung a dagger. It lodged in the creature's shoulder with a thunk. Hey, ugly. Over here. The distraction worked. The Guardian snarled and charged. Kale yelped, scrambling up a pile of rubble with the beast hot on his heels. Finn's mind raced. The journal had mentioned Guardians, spirits bound to ancient places. They weren't truly alive, which meant, Lita, the carvings on the walls, they're binding runes. If we break them, she was already sprinting toward the nearest one, blade raised. On it, Finn lunged for another, smashing the journal's spine against the glowing symbols. The stone cracked, and the Guardian staggered as if struck. Kale, now perched precariously on a crumbling pillar, grinned. Oh, I like this plan. He drew his last dagger and hurled it at a third rune across the room. The blade struck true, and the Guardian let out an unearthly shriek as part of its form flickered like a guttering candle. One left, Lyra shouted, but the Guardian was between her and the final rune. Finn's eyes darted to the focus stone. It hummed in his grip, resonating with the vault's magic. Maybe. He slammed the stone against the wall beside him. Light erupted in a blinding wave. The final rune shattered, and the Guardian's roar turned into a wail as its body unraveled into wisps of shadow. Silence fell. Kale dropped from the pillar, dusting himself off. Well, that was fun. Lyra shot him a glare. Define fun. Still breathing, aren't we? He stooped to retrieve his daggers. Though I did lose my favorite blade thanks to your brilliant rune-smashing idea. Finn barely heard them. The focus stone's glow had faded, but in its depths, something new shimmered. A reflection that wasn't his own. A landscape of jagged peaks and a towering obsidian gate. Lyra peered over his shoulder. Is that the next piece? Finn whispered. The Black Spire Mountains. That's where we'll find the second key. Kale groaned. Mountains. Of course it's mountains. Why couldn't the ancient mystery lead us to a nice beach? Maybe a tavern. Lida Simirkit. Where's the fun in that? Finn tucked the stone away, his pulse still racing. The Guardian was gone, but the vault felt heavier somehow, as if the air itself remembered what they'd stolen. We should go, he said quietly. Hargrove might have heard, whatever that was. Kale nodded toward the door. After you, almighty rune smasher. As they slipped back into the tunnels, Finn couldn't shake the feeling that something watched from the darkness. Not the Guardian, something older. Something waiting. But the mountains called, and whatever lay ahead, they were in it now. All the way to the end. Chapter 6. The Black Spire Mountains loomed ahead like jagged teeth biting into the sky. 3 days of hard travel had brought Finn, Kale, and Lyra to the foot of the treacherous pass, where the wind howled like a living thing and the air grew thin. Remind me again why we couldn't just hire someone to fetch this next key? Kale grumbled, rubbing his arms against the biting cold. Preferably someone expendable. Finn adjusted his pack, his breath fogging in the frigid air. Because the last expendable mercenary you hired tried to sell us out to the Shadow Cartel before we even left Eldermere. Lyra smirked, tightening the straps of her climbing gear. And you were the one who said he looked trustworthy. Kale threw up his hands. He had an honest face. His wanted poster was in every tavern from here to the coast. Finn muttered. The rogue shrugged. Details. A gust of wind nearly knocked them sideways, and the trio pressed on, their boots crunching over frost-covered stone. The path grew steeper, narrowing to a treacherous ledge with a sheer drop on one side. Lyra tested the next foothold before shifting her weight. Stay close. One slip, and you'll be greeting the rocks below personally. Kale peered over the edge and immediately paled. Oh, that's a lot of nothing. Fantastic. Finn's fingers ached from clinging to the icy rock face, but the focus stone in his pocket pulsed warmly, urging him forward. The vision showed a cave entrance just ahead. That's where we'll find the next key. Assuming the mountain doesn't swallow us whole first, Kale muttered. The ledge widened at last, opening into a yawning cavern mouth. Strange, glowing moss clung to the walls, casting an eerie blue light over the tunnel ahead. Lyra hesitated at the entrance. This feels wrong. Fin fronet. Wrong how? She shook her head as if struggling to put it into words. Like the air itself is holding its breath. Kale rolled his shoulders. Great. Haunted mountains. Just what we needed. They stepped inside, the temperature dropping sharply. The walls were unnaturally smooth, carved with the same twisting runes they'd seen in the vault. Finn traced one with his finger. These are older. Much older. A sudden click echoed through the cavern. Kale froze. Please tell me that wasn't what I think it was. Lyra's blades were in her hands in an instant. Trap. The ground beneath them shuddered, and with a deafening crack, the floor split open. Finn barely had time to grab onto a jutting rock as the stones gave way beneath them. Hold on, Lyra shouted, but it was too late. Kale vanished into the darkness below with a curse. Finn's grip slipped, his fingers burning against the stone. Kale! A hand clamped around his wrist. Lyra, straining to pull him up. Don't you dare let go. He scrambled on a solid ground, chest heaving. Below, there was only blackness. Then, ow! Kale's voice floated up, echoing. That really hurt. Finn nearly collapsed in relief. You're alive. Barely, Kale grumbled. And I'm stuck down here with no way up. Also, there's something glowing. Lyra and Finn exchanged a glance. She pulled a coiled rope from her pack. We're coming down. The descent was slow, the rope biting into Finn's palms. When his feet finally touched the ground, the dim glow Kale had mentioned became clear. A massive, circular door stood embedded in the cavern wall, covered in intricate carvings. And at its center, a familiar slot shaped like the focus stone. Kale whistled. Well, that's convenient. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Too convenient. Finn pulled the stone from his pocket. It hummed eagerly, as if recognizing its destination. Kale clapped him on the back. Go on then. Let's see what all this fuss is about. Finn hesitated. What if this is a mistake? Lyra's voice was quiet. Then we'll face it together. He took a deep breath and pressed the stone into the slot. The carvings flared to life, burning with golden light. The door groaned, then split down the middle, sliding open with a sound like thunder. Beyond it lay not another chamber, but a vast, impossible expanse. A city of glittering spires floating in an endless sky. Kale's jaw dropped. Okay, that I wasn't expecting. Lyra took a step forward, her voice barely a whisper. The lost Athenaeum. Finn's pulse roared in his ears. This was it. The place his father's journal had hinted at. The source of the keys. And standing at the threshold, he realized they were no longer just chasing a mystery. They were stepping into a legend. Chapter 7. The bridge of the Iron Vanguard was eerily silent as the last Corvian warship vanished into hyperspace, its engines flaring blue before winking out of existence. Commander Elias Kane let out a slow breath, his knuckles white where they gripped the command chair. We did it, Mara whispered beside him, her cybernetic fingers hovering over the tactical display. They're actually retreating. Jax Torin's voice crackled over the comm, his usual smirk audible even through the static. You see this, Captain? The great Corvian Empire, running with its tail between its legs. On the view screen, Vera Solis's face was unreadable. This isn't over, Kane. Elias leaned forward. No, it's just beginning. The transmission cut. For a moment, no one moved. Then the Vanguard's AI chimed, its voice smooth and ancient. Priority transmission received. Source, Sol System. Encryption level, Omega. Mara's brow furrowed. That's not possible. Earth comms were dark for put it through, Elias ordered. The screen flickered, then resolved into the face of a woman with steel gray hair and piercing green eyes. Her uniform was different, older, the insignia unfamiliar. But the way she held herself, the authority in her gaze, Elias's breath caught. Admiral Rachel Carter, he breathed. The woman's lips quirked. At ease, Commander. Though I suppose I should be calling you Admiral now, shouldn't I? Mara stiffened. That's your dead? Missing? Pick your favorite legend. Carter's smile faded. We don't have much time. The Corvians were just the first wave. There's something else coming. Elias's stomach dropped. What? Carter's image glitched, static crawling across the screen. The ones who made them quarantine us. The ones who... The transmission dissolved into noise. Mara swore, slamming her fist against the console. We're losing her. Elias turned to the comm officer. Boost the signal. Trace that too late. The AI's voice was grim. Transmission origin has self-erased. Final message fragment recovered. A new window popped up, a single line of text flashing red. They are coming. Wake the fleet. Silence. Then, deep in the bowels of the ship, something thrummed. A vibration Elias hadn't felt in 500 years. The Vanguard's old warp core, dormant since the exile, flared to life with a low, hungry growl. Mara's eyes widened. Elias, what did we just do? Outside, the stars seemed to shift. Jax's voice, when it came over the comm again, was uncharacteristically quiet. Guys, you might want to look at this. The view screen zoomed in. At first, it was just a speck, a single point of light where none had been before. Then another, and another. Hundreds, thousands, ships, human ships. Elias's comm crackled once more, but this time it wasn't Jax. It was a voice from the past. This is Admiral Rachel Carter of the Terran Vanguard. All units, report status. Static. Then, one by one, replies began to filter in, voices Elias hadn't heard since childhood. Vanguard Actual, standing by. TSV Mjolnir, ready to roll. Battle Group Orion, locked and loaded. Mara grabbed Elias's arm, her grip tight. They're alive. Elias exhaled, his reflection staring back at him from the view screen as the fleet's lights painted the void gold. "Yeah," he murmured, "and we just woke them up. Somewhere in the dark, something stirred. And that was the end of the story." Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.